Emrah, welcome. It's very good to have you on with us today. So at this moment in time, we're speaking with the founder of Chooch, who are an AI-based platform and one of the portfolio companies for Platform XIT. So Emrah, very good to have you here, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Shahid. Great to meet you, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Excellent. So yeah, so I'm absolutely keen because AI, anytime I hear AI, I get very excited, as do a lot of people. It's for a lot of people, it's a world unknown to them. It's something they see in sci-fi movies, but AI is an actual reality now. So it would be great to hear your thoughts on that sector and why you chose to go into that.
Absolutely. It's we we're trying to scale human vision. So our part of AI is actually, it's called computer vision, and it's been around for a long time. And so has AI theories and algorithms. They've been around since basically the 80s. But what was really missing over the past, I'd say, 10 years, it was the development of the of integrated systems in terms of power to actually do those types of statistical methods, because you need, what you're really doing is we call it AI today, but it's just a machine doing, it's on steroids, doing statistics. So you have different subsets of AI, and you have NLP, you have audio, you have computer vision, and basically what we do. And we're focused on the computer vision part. And what that really means is scaling human vision. So being able to take your visual expertise as a human being, whether you're an expert in security or geospatial imagery or wildfires or whatever you're capable of detecting and understanding in your environment, we try and copy that into machines. And so that person scales, and also you're able to detect these things en masse. So one of the issues that we're facing when we started the company was we had some abstract problems in AI. So this was back in 2015, and my co-founder Hakan, he was dealing with this type of imagery in healthcare. And what we wanted to do is say, how do we really scale this and make it more available to everybody, and also solve some of these more abstract issues which people didn't understand back then, which included data set generation, which we have today as labeling. You have different labeling companies doing that. Part of it was model training, and then the other part was inferencing. So those are the three major aspects of AI that are very crucial to understand. So we went back upstream and said, how do we solve these problems so that you can actually scale human vision at the end of the day? So we didn't work on a business problem per se. We worked on a technical problem that we saw coming, and it kind of paid off in terms of what we're doing. So now we've kind of connected that to business problems that we're facing in the market, and it's working out pretty well in terms of speed to deployment.
Sure, well, that's really wonderful. Yeah, no, and that's something I wanted to touch upon, in fact. So let's say for the everyday person, I saw there's many use cases on your website, for example, and many industries and sectors that you target. So if you can pick a couple which would be applicable to, say, the everyday person, to understand how the engine that's been built by Chooch, how is that applicable in the real life world?
Yeah. So it really boils down to one thing, and it's very simple. It's detection. And so being able to visually detect something. So whether that's a certain face or a certain person or a certain asset or a defect or an anomaly in a manufacturing environment, whether PPE detection, whether people are wearing their protective gear and so forth. So there are many different applications, as you know, and we're seeing a lot of traction in manufacturing for defect detection. We're seeing a lot of facial related issues like sentiment, age, and so forth. Just the customer journey within certain spaces. We're seeing a lot of geospatial, so detecting things from space. These satellites they're sending back huge amounts of data about Earth, and basically no one has time to like look at every square kilometer or square mile of this imagery. So you need AI to look at it basically. So there's a lot of different areas, and it all boils down to detection and having that inference engine, which we call where the predictions are happening, be able to launch that anywhere and to be able to make that flexible. So yes, we do a lot of different things, but we're kind of the enablement tool. We don't do like the entire gamut, because if you go into like certain areas, you're going to go outside of computer vision. You're going to have to do audio, you're going to have to do NLP, you're going to have to do tags, RFID, but we're focused squarely on computer vision, and we provide that component to these enterprises and partners.
Wonderful. No, thank you so much. So Emrah, let's learn a bit about yourself. Let's learn about how you got to this stage, how you got to Chooch, what you did before, and in particular, what's it like to start something up, like operate as a startup, in particularly where you are, in the center of startups in Silicon Valley. What's it like? What's the environment like? And how was it to put a team together?
Yeah, these are great questions, and it's something that kind of I think about on a weekly basis, at least, like where you came from and like what you developed in time. So I've been lucky enough. I've been entrepreneur since college, basically, and so just building companies, not at this scale ever. This is like the first one that's kind of very deep tech, and I've had failures. That's part of this journey as an entrepreneur. I've had successes, some sideways as well. So basically, we grew up with too much sci-fi at the time, at Apple IIe when I was very, very young, and we were coding at a very, very young age. Then I went to boarding school in the U.S. and then college. And I kind of like stepped away from that world, and I studied social sciences actually. And that was part of, I think that's what's kind of stepped, like as a leader, that's kind of made me slightly different, because I do reference anthropology and history quite often in my talks and also in my daily life. And that's kind of not very, you don't learn that in business school or anything like that. So my business background is mainly from the streets. I mean, I was just like, kind of building things and experiencing things on the ground as an operator, which is a very different thing than trying to bring it top down. So my brother, who's a co-founder, Hakan, he's been the tech guy since he was in his early teens, and basically kind of building and continue that programming acumen as he built different products during his career. And he would come to me every 5 years or so, and we were like, I'm working on this project, and you know how engineers are, it's not that clear like what they're really working on. It's like I don't understand it, and like, okay, it's cool, but whatever he was working on at the time, 3-4 years down the line, let's see it become something. So
wow.
he had actually built something like a Dropbox in 2001. And this is many years before even a Dropbox. And these things are intuitive, because like, well, I'm going to save my files. I have to save my files on the system. Can I save them on the cloud? Which didn't exist then. And then there was another one which we called Jingles List at the time. It was a Spotify type of thing, and like we didn't get involved as business people, and that was like, okay, well, that was also a sign. And then a few years down the line, it was like, I'll take you more seriously, and we'll look at this more seriously next time, which was this project of it was basically artificial intelligence search and visual AI at the time. And So that's kind of the story of how we got involved, and then together in this, and took the big step because, and that was part of the process as well. Was like, well, how do you do this? I was based in DC at the time. Hakan was in Istanbul. We had grown up in the U.S., but we didn't have that many business ties in the U.S. at the time. So it was like talk to a few friends and those from the Valley, and they were like, "You need to come out. Like this is this is serious, and if you're going to take this seriously, you need to come out here." And we took the bold move in February 2016 and moved out to the Bay Area, and we've been here since. And it's been kind of a very thoughtful and a very interesting journey that we've had. We've been first of all, we were not welcome at all. I need to tell you, it's like, well, it was more like, well, why are these two people in their 40s trying to do this, and who are they? Like Google should be doing it, or some of the other bigger companies, which they are. I mean, that's all fair to them. But it was more like, well, yes, anyone can do anything as long as they're persistent at it and they have some talent, and they're also very, they're focused on it. And there's some luck involved as well with meeting the right people. So we met the right people, and we got a lot of support after a couple of years, and that support has taken us to different levels, both in the US and also overseas as well.
Excellent. No, that's so in terms of Silicon Valley, so do you feel like, with the world becoming more globalized with the advancements of technology, do you still feel there's an advantage to being based there? Do you feel like if you weren't in the Valley, would you have still had the opportunities and have access to the people and the team that you do?
It's a good question, and I don't have the counterfactual to that, so it's hard to understand whether it would be a different world. But I think as founders, there's less distraction here to other areas or like other industries or other types of ideas, and there's more focus. I think that mind share helps today, and there's still a lot of talent in this region. There's a lot of money as well, as you know. You don't always get all of it. Like you get parts of it. Maybe you get some money, you get some ideas and some talent, or more talent, less money. So there's a combination of everything. But I still think there's some validity to being here, and I think it has mainly to do with just focus and that mind share of just being driven by your mission. Which isn't easy to do in other areas because you're kind of being distracted and you don't get the motivational support sometimes. But I mean, yeah, you could basically create a great company, I think, anywhere today.
Sure.
With all the investments, yeah.
There is an interesting point you make about distraction. That's that I haven't heard that one before, but it makes a lot of sense.
You everywhere you go, it's all about tech and it's all about ideas and mission, and so that mind share is always there. And you don't have. There's also a different culture of failure here.
Sure.
So failure is not frowned upon, actually. In our cultures, especially in the East, failure is associated with shame, and that here is more like, well, you've tried, at least, and you learn something from it, and now move on and do something better.
Yeah, that's a great environment to be in. Absolutely.
Yeah, that environment is fostered here. Maybe too much. Take it too far, but I think that's also important, because if it's a statistical game at the end of the day. So if you try something long enough and you iterate on it, you're gonna succeed at some point. And if you get too bogged down with all the failures, you're also gonna you're gonna get demotivated and you're not gonna continue. But you need to know where to stop as well. So there's that balance. But yeah, I think that also helps in this region. Yeah.
Great. So coming back to Chooch itself, what are your future aspirations with the company? Where do you hope to get to? Are there any like major milestones that you're heading towards?
Yeah, there are different milestones that we're trying to aim at in 2022 and beyond, obviously. But basically, it starts with the vision, right? And when you say you put a target very high up, so you're going to scale human vision, and then you kind of work backwards from there and say, how do I get to that level? And if you don't do that, and it's almost like it's not that motivating to gather a team and work on these big problems that you're trying to solve. So we're headed to be one of the category leaders in this field, which is a category that's just forming. It's not like computer vision isn't like a big category in it. It's always been like a sideshow. In a company, it's like, well, I'll do some facial recognition here, and like I'll do some, document reading here, whatever. And it hasn't been like the core of it. So one of our missions is to put this at the core of the large partners which have taken it on. We have 70 plus partners in the US today. And then the large enterprises, so the Fortune 500. So within their digital transformation, the computer vision needs to sit at the core of that. And so that's been part of this whole process of like educating them and also understanding that there's no shortage of demand today, and there's no shortage of TAM. Like that's not even a question anymore. And this wasn't the case 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. But now the issue is like, getting the budgets done for these types of projects, and also making it frictionless for these companies to scale. So we are, at the end of the day, we want to continue building the company and also go for an IPO at some stage in the next few years, and take it to another level. We really want to be the category leader here, and we are the emerging category leader for computer vision, which means that it means a lot of things, but going down in the future, we'll probably see more segmentation in the market. So differentiation in different types of areas, not just the AI lifecycle, which is from data set generation to inferencing analytics, but also in the different verticals.
Wonderful. No, good luck with that. Hopefully, I want to see you on the IPO one day. Looking out for it for sure.
Hopefully, you gotta shoot for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? So that actually leads me on to when you were raising investment, what would you look for in an investor? What kind of advice would you give to a startup who are doing their, let's say, Series A?
I think this is a good question, and startup founders are usually it's always their cash. They need the cash especially at like seed and Series A level. So they take anything they can get. We were kind of mentored by a lot of different angels in this area. So we were able to kind of create an ecosystem of different investors that were helping us, who were advisors and also investors at the same time. So I would say if you're taking seed money or pre-seed money, make sure it's from people who can help the business, not just the money, because the money you're going to run out of the money anyway at some point. And raise as much as you can early, because you always underestimate your budget, basically. And that's something I've learned from previous startups I've had. Not this one. It's like double the budget, double the time, and if you're still happy with it, continue, like kind of thing. So I would say look at those things. Series A gets a bit more complex in terms of like you need to have some good names in there. Not just the money. It's also like good names and I would say protect your equity. Don't take too much dilution. Dilution is bad for a couple of reasons. Normally you take like 15-20% dilution at a Series seed, and then another 20%, 20 to 25% at a Series A, depending on how that goes. So you're already at like 40% dilution rate. So you don't want to take too much dilution early in the seed round. And the reason for that is because it'll make your fundraising very, very difficult going down the line. When sophisticated investors see lots of dilution in the seed round, they kind of back off, because what they're afraid of is founders losing motivation to continue if they're diluted too much on the Series A as well. So there's a lot of things going on. So I would say kind of look for advisor investors initially, and then make sure you're raising as much as you can. And the more you raise, actually, it also justifies the valuation you're looking for, because that's all. It's not just a metric of like, okay, what's your revenue or what's your multiple. It's also like, what's the pipeline, and like, how much are you raising? So that also is a reflection of the valuation of the company.
Sure. No, that incredibly useful points. Thank you for that. I'm sure they'll be well received by many around who watch this. Fantastic.
And I've got to say, it's really hard raising money. I mean, especially in early rounds. Yeah, very, very difficult. I mean, we went to, I think, 300 investors before we got proper investment. So and you're going to get no's all the time. That's like. Yeah. And the best people get the no's too. It's not, it's it's not something that's particular to a certain group. It's just
sure.
And you got to keep going. Yeah, if you believe in your product, your team, your company, your vision, you just keep going, and then
there will be someone out there who aligns, right?
Exactly. And if there's nobody after a few years, then you just have to kind of pivot out. Yeah.
Sure. Fantastic. Well, Emrah, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with yourself. And we look forward to seeing more progress from Chooch, and look forward to doing one of these again soon.
Absolutely, Shahid. It was pleasure is mine. Our door is always open. And if anybody wants to reach out to us, they know where to find us.
Fantastic. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, Shahid.